We don't think any of those questions are puerile. We think those questions are relevant. And to call questions puerile is a way to avoid a debate, isn't it? Sanjay Jha, Subramanian Swamy. Two men who have long debated each other on the Newshour. In fact, I think the first time they encountered each other was also on the Newshour. Professor Vaidyanathan, he leans towards the BJP. He's from IIM Bangalore. And Prasenjit Bose leans towards the left. And he's in Kolkata. Thank you very much. Let's begin. You know, you call the questions puerile. I don't think that's the right thing to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of those questions up in the course of the debate. And my first question goes to Subramanian Swamy. Subramanian Swamy, let's take a few of those questions, okay? Yashwant Sinha says, is it a fact that as a result of the slowdown of the economy, there has been a massive decline in employment opportunities? Chidambaram says, number of jobs created under the NDA tenure were higher than the UPA tenure, but, and he's right, the unemployment rate dropped during the UPA tenure. Now, the unemployment rate is more important, isn't it, Dr. Swamy?
No, the question is, if the number of jobs created in the NDA period was much larger than the UPA period, how can the unemployment rate drop in the UPA period? I mean, this is, it shows either Mr. Chidambaram has forgotten to count or he's forgotten arithmetic.
Yeah, actually, what was going on there, Sanjay Jha? How can the Congress justify the failure to create jobs by highlighting the rate of unemployment? Mr. Jha?
Can I answer your question?
Yeah, please.
Number one, I'm answering your question. Let me tell you the fact as it is. The key distinction is that the casual workers went down. The number of the self-employed during our time went up. And don't forget the fact that during the NDA time, the majority of the so-called participation that they're talking about of 60 million, that's the number I keep hearing, has been actually contested subsequently, that the NSSO data was perhaps not making the adequate, fair comparison of looking at the worker participation rate. And most of them were in agriculture. During the UPA time, entrepreneurship, self-employment, casual workers have come down, and I think to that extent, it has actually been a positive development, although we are not going to deny the fact that employment creating opportunities need to be enhanced.
You failed to create jobs, simple.
Manifesto talks about
why complicate it?
I'll also want to mention one factor.
Professor Vaidyanathan,
I'll make one simple point.
No, you failed to create jobs.
I'll make one simple point that India as an economy needs to, manufacturing companies in India have become more capital intensive, and that does impact.
Come on, don't give me that garble, please.
And going forward,
please don't give me that garble. Manufacturing is capital intensive. We need to create capital and hence
small industries.
No, that's all
is important.
Yeah, this is like this. Manufacturing is capital intensive. We need to create capital. When there will be capital, then there will be manufacturing. Then there will be jobs. In the meantime, we grew in agriculture, of which we cannot give you an accurate.
That is a transition.
Come on.
Feature of any emerging market.
No, so you admit the first question of Yashwant Sinha. Sanjay Jha admits, Professor Vaidyanathan, that the question Chidambaram described as puerile was in fact inappropriate.
I don't. I qualified my statement.
You can qualify it as much as you want.
I qualified my statement.
No, and
I'll tell you what, Mr. Yashwant Sinha's statement is not an attempt to bring economics back on the agenda for the BJP. It's a highly personalized statement on Mr. Chidambaram.
What is personal?
You can make out by the tone and tenor.
What is
and
personal?
For a gentleman who was an unmitigated disaster as a finance minister, who presided over the UTI scam, who presided over the 2G scam that started in the time actually of the NDA when they moved from the license to the revenue share model. The world knows that. Why don't you ask Mr. Sinha why was he moved away from the finance ministry? He was an unmitigated
The second question. No, I will stay with
India's finance minister. I can repeat that 10 times if you ask me.
The one. Please, let's be focused. So, Professor Vaidyanathan, I just want your take and Prasenjit's take on the first question which is raised out there about the fact that the UPA government failed to create jobs. Is that a settled issue in your view, Professor Vaidyanathan? Is it a settled issue? UPA failed to create jobs.
Arnab, this month I published a book called India Unink. In a lighter vein, you should buy the copies and give it to all the panelists. Now, in India, the small businesses, partnership, proprietorship firms, household enterprise, They constitute nearly 45 to 50% of our national income. And they are the engines of our growth. In many sectors, they have been growing at 8.5%, 9%, actually in the last decade or more than that. Sectors like construction, sectors like transport, sectors like trade. But if you look at the bank financing to them, it has declined from somewhere 45 to 50% to 30%. What has happened actually is this UPA government and the finance ministry has comprehensively destroyed entrepreneurship in this country. The thriving entrepreneurship class, including the self-employed, have been fully destroyed. And who have to rely on these Saharas and these type of Sharda type of firms for their funding at 2 to 3% per month.
It's the other way around.
And this is no joke. And the second is, what has happened is, huge amount of employment has got shifted through outsourcing centers, which mean that, employment might be there, but it could be at 1/4 or 1/3 of the rate what could be offered. So this is not something which is, acceptable at all.
Arnab,
and I think the government's achievement is removing the entrepreneurship. Second is, I am puzzled that no newspaper reporter or this TV journalist today asked, under this finance minister, we had MCX, NCDEX scam and National Spot Exchange, and we had the scam of Sahara, we had the huge scam of United Bank of India collapsing, and the State Bank of India is in deep trouble.
Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad
and
of the BJP is the lawyer for Sahara.
Minister is squarely responsible for all this.
It right. Ravi Shankar Prasad
and just like that, talking about the growth rate alone is not adequate.
You know which political parties.
All these things have taken place under his.
Should I give the list
leadership.
of the? Should I give? There are enough people from the Congress
also. He should be asked to respond to this.
No, don't get personal, Sanjay Jha. Don't get. I am not asking you who defend. I am not asking you whether a Congress leader was defending anybody in the Italian Marines case. Am I talking about that? No. Am I talking about which individual brief, which individual Congress leader has taken?
Let me tell you.
Did any Congress leader take a brief in the Italian Marines case?
Let me tell you, Mr. Vaidyanathan.
Did any Congress leader take a brief in the Veerbhadra Singh case?
There are 60,000 micro,
what about 2G also?
Medium enterprises have closed in Gujarat. I was talking about Gujarat. Yes, there has been a destruction of self-employed in Gujarat. I agree with him. But across India, if you look at the statistics, in fact, entrepreneurship has been the biggest story for India. Employment, by the way, happens more in MSME sector than it happens in large-scale corporations who are actually trying to become more capital-intensive and more frugal on their labor expenditure. Therefore, labor reforms is the key issue for India, where our manifesto says we will look into it. About the BJP manifesto, I think it will come in June 25th or 26th. I don't know what to comment on that.
Now, anyway, I'm glad that we are at least debating these issues which Mr. Chidambaram had described as puerile. Prasenjit wants to come in. Yes, Prasenjit, which point do you want to come in on?
Yeah, I mean, I am actually frankly very amused to see that the Congress and the BJP are debating the economy, whereas the fact is that they differ so little on economic issues, on economic policies. But what has been the great difference between the economic policies that the BJP pursued between 98 and 2004 and what the UPA pursued, especially the UPA 2, when there was no left? And if employment generation is the question, I would say both the BJP government and the UPA government has the same record of jobless growth. And employment generation in the second tenure of the UPA government has been, at a very slow pace. But the same statistics, NSS statistics will show you that even in a state like Gujarat, despite all these, hype over the high growth rate of Gujarat, employment growth has been zero.
We are not discussing
that
Gujarat
is the biggest
now,
problem with overall economy.
Prasenjit, we are discussing. I know.
No, but Gujarat is also a part of India.
Yes, it is. But what am I discussing here now? You want me to discuss West Bengal? Should we discuss Sikkim next?
No, what you are discussing.
You want to discuss what you want to discuss, or you want to discuss what we want to discuss?
You see where I am coming from.
No, you see the point is, Prasenjit.
See what I don't. What I am saying is,
Prasenjit, we are not discussing a state now.
What is the big difference?
We are not discussing a state.
Maharashtra and Gujarat.
Prasenjit, we are discussing Yashwant Sinha's questions.
What is the big difference? They are all the same.
Prasenjit, I understand your
growth everywhere in India is jobless.
Prasenjit, when I have a debate on Gujarat, we'll discuss Gujarat. Now, my question is, we are discussing Yashwant Sinha's questions. Let's come to the next question. The next question is the question of inflation. Right?
Yeah, I am to saying it is...
Yashwant Sinha asks a question on inflation and he asks, is it a fact that consumer price inflation has averaged around 10% per annum between 2008 and 2013? And this is the highest inflation rate in any major economy in the world and has persisted despite slowing growth? That the high inflation has pushed millions of Indians below the poverty line? What's puerile about this question? What's puerile about it? Maybe it doesn't matter to you, Sanjay.
Puerile. It's
Let me answer that.
Fact.
It's an absolute fact. To describe it as puerile is a way of running away from it.
Give me a minute.
Yes.
No, what's puerile about this question? You're insulting the people of this country by calling it puerile.
Discussing Mr. Yashwant Sinha's instead of discussing Mr. Yashwant Sinha's highly selected questions, Arnab, if you really want to be dispassionate and neutral, please also discuss Mr. Chidambaram's statement, which put a lot of other factors into perspective. Why are we narrowing it to a very parochial
I'm sorry, because you are not answering the questions. You are calling the questions puerile. I am, because I'll tell you, let's discuss fact to fact.
Yes, we agree. Yes,
you agree. Fine.
Yes, we agree that we provided for a fiscal stimulus into 1 minute. Can I finish? We provided for a fiscal stimulus in our government in 2007-8. Mr. Chidambaram was at pains to say. And look at the glaring omission by the former finance minister. He ignores, in none of the questions does he acknowledge that the world went into a serious international financial turmoil, which was branded by the world as the Great Recession, the worst since 1931. And since you and I both have studied history, Arnab, you know what 1931 did to the entire universe.
Then why please don't tell me, why did the
distorting the whole dialogue, misleading the people of India.
What has that got to do with inflation?
1 minute.
What has it got to do with inflation? I am asking you about inflation.
The monetary policy
I am asking you about inflation between September 2013 and March 2014.
Arnab, it is linked to that.
Oh, please. That way everything is linked to everything. Please understand this, Sanjay. Inflation. Your Prime Minister...
Arnab, both retail and wholesale inflation are currently falling.
Your Prime Minister, Sanjay, listen, who are you? What are you saying?
No, so that is not the point.
Sanjay, your Prime Minister has admitted his failure.
I'm making a point that
you're outgoing
up.
The
because
fact is,
we wanted
this
to push up
government has
aggregate
completely
demand.
failed.
You're
completely failed to check inflation.
No, I don't know why you call a question on inflation puerile. Subramanian Swamy, I want you to respond to either of the points that have been made there and the fact that Chidambaram is reluctant to get into a debate on these subjects.
He said the general questions from Mr. Sinha were puerile and personalized.
I don't know what is puerile about it. When you're talking about inflation affects all the, a billion Indians, maybe it doesn't affect you. Yes, Subramanian Swamy.
I would
Arnab,
like
can
to
I tell
know
you something? No, I don't think inflation affects you, but I can tell you this, Arnab. Arnab, for 10 years, an economy of India, which grew at over 7.5% GDP, which is accepted worldwide as a single barometer of the health of an economy, along with 140 million people.
If that is your argument,
with a booming,
if that is your argument, if that is your argument, if that is your argument, here's my counter to you. Here, listen to the counter.
Letting me finish.
Listen to the counter. Listen to the counter.
We agree that there was a supply bottleneck that aggravated inflation. We agree with that. Supply bottlenecks aggravated inflation. We agree with it.
What supply bottleneck?
What supply bottlenecks?
Interest rates so many times. You choked off demand.
I just have a simple counter to Sanjay. He will understand. Have the patience to listen. I'm not making a puerile point. Puerile is the Congress party's word today. Any questions you ask them are puerile if they put you on the defensive. I mean, this kind of superciliousness is what has done the UPA government in. Question is this, you trump the UPA one figure of 8.4%. 1 minute. The fact remains that while you boosted economic growth in UPA 1, you triggered CPI inflation during UPA 1 to 6% from 3.9% in the NDA regime. During the UPA 2 regime, not only has the GDP gone down from the previous tenure, CPI inflation has gone up by 10.4%. So the UPA government is almost synonymous with inflation, and a large part of the growth that you proclaim has been totally dented due to inflation. You understand? You don't need to. This is basic economics. What are you talking about, Sanjay?
Can I tell you something?
This is basic.
Let me tell you.
This is basic.
Arnab,
don't
you know what you have done?
deny.
You have just rationalized.
Oh,
1 minute. What you have done, it is basic. What you have done is to rationalize what you very often in your program have trashed me for and my party and my government for, the need for subsidies. The reason why India has actually seen the prosperity in the rural sector is because subsidies, which are linked, by the way, indexed to inflation, has protected the real Aam Aadmi of India, has really protected the common man of India. And let me tell you, there are three income distinctions in India: the haves, the have-nots, and the have-yachts.
I know
the
subsidies.
have-nots have been pushed to that.
I know subsidies.
The BJP is a party for the have-yachts, for those who own Gulf
Subramanian Swamy respond.
And those who are really the super
Subramanian
rich. They don't
Swamy
even
can
belong to the
respond.
middle class.
I can't respond because
Subramanian Swamy will respond now.
I can't respond.
Our policies of
Sanjay Jha, 1 minute.
How can I
Subramanian
respond when the man is non-stop talking?
We are the ones who have empowered the middle class of India.
Subramanian Swamy, please. Respond to all those points. It's Dr. Swamy's turn.
Okay, all right.
Well, first of all, you see, all the indexes which point to the health of an economy have been going from bad to worse. Take fiscal deficit. It's now running, if you really do the proper accounting, running at almost 6%. Mr. Chidambaram showed a lower figure because he understated the subsidies that were required in his budgeting. And then he also failed to mention that there was a non-performance of the government in terms of the investments. So many ministries returned the money. So finally they added the auction money of the 2G spectrum, which they have nothing to do with it. In fact, they were the ones who caused the spectrum scam. And it's the court which ordered the cancellation and led to the auction. And the amount that they realized in that period, they were included in the budget. So what is important is these indexes, they cannot answer. So they go around all this business of the economy being improving. What is improving, I want to know. The growth rate in industry is now down to almost 1%. Agriculture is not above 3%. It's at 2.5% in fact. So which index are they talking about? I want to know.
But
then
what
you look
is
at
policy alternative? No, but Dr. Swamy, what is your policy alternative?
Swamy, agriculture is growing at
over. What is our policy
agriculture is growing at over 4%.
Well, I'll come to that now. Now that you agree, now that you agree,
what is the difference between your economic policy and Congress's economic policy?
Why are you talking about current account deficit?
Let me answer that.
Why are you talking about
if you all go on talking at the same time, I can't answer that.
Why are you talking about a GDP which is still relatively
Please stop this man from going on blabbering.
Today at 5%.
So
well,
I'll answer the question as to what's the difference.
You made on a TV channel. I'm being very tolerant
well,
of you.
You go on blabbering.
You mean what?
Now the question, the answer to
Mr.
the question
Swamy,
as to what's the difference between our policy and the Congress policy. Let me now again he's blabbering in the middle. Please stop him. I never interrupted him. If he wants to talk, I can keep quiet. There's because our case.
Please continue. We are going into a break. Complete these points.
All the opinion polls are showing such poor showing for the Congress.
Why? Policy and Congress's policy. That is the main thing.
No intention.
All right, I'm answering that. I'm answering that.
Who doesn't know his facts?
I'm answering that. Now, come on again. He's blabbering. Why are you showing such poor showing in the opinion polls? People are saying that you're going to get less than 100. If the economy was doing so well, why should the people punish you?
Why aren't you getting a Lok Sabha ticket, my friend?
So now coming to the question as to what's the difference.
Poll, we will win the elections. Don't worry. The BJP
now again he's back blabbering. Does he do anything but blabber? He has no facts, nothing. It just goes on blabbering and interrupting. Can he not have a minimum discipline to listen to the other side?
Mr.
Now,
Swamy,
see the question.
No, gentlemen, I mean, we have other issues to cover.
Again, he's back.
Both of us going.
No, watch it. I'm going to do this. One minute. First of all, I want to request both sides. I know the love and the affection that Subramanian Swamy and Sanjay Jha have for each other. Right? However, I would request you to restrain your affection in the course of each other's arguments. I'll come back to the debate. I am forced to take a small commercial break. When I come out, I want to know from Sanjay Jha and Dr. Swamy several things, including from Sanjay Jha. I want to ask him whether he will admit on national television that Chidambaram dressed up the numbers on the fiscal deficit. You dress up the number on the fiscal deficit. When you're asked questions about it, you say they are puerile. Now, when somebody sees through your numbers, that person is being intelligent, not being puerile.
This is Times Now, Super Prime Time. And you're watching the News Hour with Arnab Goswami.
Now, what's going on between Yashwant Sinha and Chidambaram is in a way childish, because Yashwant Sinha says that the markets went up when there was news that Chidambaram was not fighting the elections. And Chidambaram says, no, the markets are actually going up because Yashwant Sinha is not fighting the elections. Well, maybe the markets are happy that neither of them is fighting the elections, and we'd probably have someone else in the finance ministry. The question is this, Yashwant Sinha's next question, Is it a fact that for purely electoral considerations you allow the fiscal deficit to cross all limits of sustainability through unproductive and irresponsible government spending from which the budget of the government of India has not recovered yet? Is it a fact that you have drastically reduced planned and productive allocations in the budget and taken recourse to questionable means to maintain fiscal deficit around 5% of the GDP and made a mockery of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act? Chidambaram says in response, our biggest success is containing fiscal deficit. We will end FY14 with a fiscal deficit of 4.7%. Is he being completely honest there, Professor Vaidyanathan? Is he being completely honest, Chidambaram? No? Why?
There is a significant amount of accounting jugglery he has done.
I know, I'll come to you, Sanjay Jha. Let him respond.
40 to 45,000 crores. Can I finish?
Yeah, please.
He has done massive accounting jugglery. He has shifted a huge sum. My estimate is 35 to 40,000 crores to the next year. Whoever is going to be the new finance minister, he is going to be given a baby which is a massive fiscal deficit creator. So he is the originator of significantly increasing the expenditure and not increasing the revenue or looking at it in any way, and at the same time trying to adjust and play with the numbers. Cleverness helps, but not beyond a point. This is the issue when you have lawyers to keep track of your accounting entries.
Arguing like
not based upon actual cash flows or benefits.
Let's see if the Congress
He's very clever. Nobody can question that about his cleverness. But that cleverness is not going to help the economy.
You can be clever,
but
Arnab. No, 1 second.
Arnab, you don't think that's a personal attack, is it?
We had brokers.
Arnab, you don't think that's a personal attack by the professor on Mr. Chidambaram?
We had banker scam.
No, he's saying it's good to be clever, but it's not good.
No more ministerial accountability at all.
Can I answer him? Can I answer him?
No,
before can I answer him?
Answer him.
We had this massive stock exchange scam in this country.
1 second, Professor Vaidyanathan, just stop at that point. Stop at that point. Before you answer Sanjay Jha, here's a fact for you. If you can say that this is wrong, I will admit that Professor Vaidyanathan is right. If you say that what I am about to say is right, then you will have to on this program right now admit that Professor Vaidyanathan is right. You are wrong, Chidambaram is wrong. Is it true that during his vote on account speech, Chidambaram admitted that 35,000 crore rupees of fuel subsidies will be rolled over, which basically simple common sense means that had these fuel subsidies been accounted for, the fiscal deficit would have been much, much higher. Additionally, planned expenditure had been cut while non-planned expenditure has gone up. Isn't it absolutely clear that numbers have been dressed up to somehow give Chidambaram a good grade in his report card? But fudging the facts to get the right report card, Sanjay Jha, I mean, what is this?
Arnab, when the... No, I
35,000 crores.
Let me tell you. Firstly, the vote in account... The vote, by the way, if it is not a dressing up because Mr. Finance Minister made that statement publicly about what exactly are the rollovers, what are the expectations for the next...
No, what would have happened to the fuel?
Where is the window dressing?
What would have happened if this was accounted for?
By the way, let me answer your question. Unlike anybody in your panel, now let me tell you on the experience here, unlike anybody on your panel, I have worked with investors, and I've been part of an institution.
Please, you
that
know,
was a
we
big
have
investor in
people
Indian
here who
stock
also know
market. So
economic
let me tell
issues.
you
You're not
something.
the only one.
If you believe that the Indian stock market, if you believe the Indian stock market is touching 22,000 and foreign institutional investors are pumping money into India, and they believe
Maybe
India's
maybe
fiscal
it's going
deficit
up
is
because
nothing
they
but
see
a
the
piece
Congress
of,
going.
you know, some kind of a corny spiel because a professor, because of an academic professor in IIM Bangalore thinks so, then let me tell you, you have got your facts completely wrong. The fiscal deficit has not,
Arnab
Mr.
Goswami.
Chidambaram has said so.
No, 1 minute.
Arnab.
One minute. Yes, Professor Vaidyanathan.
Arnab.
Professor Vaidyanathan.
I would like to
And
take a minute.
1 minute.
Professor Vaidyanathan is coming back again
Arnab.
into the debate. Sanjay, please let him. Please, you made a comment at him. He wants to come back to the debate. Professor.
Let me answer.
Professor
If
comes
the
back to the
fiscal
debate.
deficit was high.
Do not-
The foreign
Professor comes back to the debate.
investors-
Arnab.
Finish 30 seconds.
Professor
Give me
comes
30
back to the
seconds.
Arnab,
debate.
do
I allow
not
it. Please
make
listen
me
to me.
debate with people like Sanjay Jha, who doesn't know the difference between BOP and BJP. Please. A person like Sanjay Jha who doesn't know the difference between BOP and BJP.
Truth is hard to
There is
swallow,
no point in
Professor.
debating with him.
Truth is very hard to swallow. Come and debate with me. I will teach you that. Professor, I will teach you that. Don't worry about it. You know, academic armchair knowledge is not good enough. There are FII and serious investors who are putting money into India because the macroeconomic fundamentals of India are getting stronger.
Leave the rhetoric aside.
I don't like the fact that, Arnab, you are discounting the finance minister of India. 1 minute, he is the current finance minister of India as we talk.
So he can't be wrong.
He says so in
if
a
he is
press
the current
conference,
finance minister,
it is
he
not
cannot
easy
be
for
wrong.
you to just
I am
discount
not
what he
among
said.
those journalists who believe that the current finance minister of India is the final authority.
Well, how come you have not mentioned how is Arnab,
Should we
on
count
your
out to
program
him because
on
he's the
Times
current
Now,
finance
remember,
minister?
You went completely insane.
No, should we
about India's
be
current
completely
account deficit.
obsequious
Why
towards
are
him
you
because
not
he's the current
mentioning that
finance
India's
minister?
foreign exchange reserves today have crossed $300 billion?
Yeah, let me ask
Why
you
aren't
this.
you saying that
what
India's
you
foreign exchange reserves have
this
crossed
constant
$300 billion?
argument? He's the finance
That
minister of
India's got the
India.
most stable foreign
My
currency
question to
amongst
you
emerging
is,
markets.
well, let me tell you, he says I have talked about a 10-point agenda in the economy in my
take
voter
it with
account
currency,
speech.
Arnab. You can't discount it.
No, 1 minute. Please listen to me, please, Sanjay Jha. He's the current finance minister of India, not the lord and master of the country.
Sure.
Okay? And I'm not certainly going to treat the current finance minister of India like the lord and master of the country, even if you want to do so.
No, but let me tell you, he definitely knows his finance and economics better than all of us on the panel.
Well, that may be your view, but in my but in any case,
fortunately, I'm not.
In any case, okay, Subramanian Swamy is having a good laugh. The Subramanian Swamy, what's funny? What's it? Subramanian Swamy to Sanjay Jha, please.
Yeah, go and see.
Yes, Subramanian Swamy.
See, the question is, Mr. Arnab Goswami, let's look at the important indexes about which there is no doubt. The growth rate is down, the rate of saving is down, fiscal deficit has gone up, the current account deficit has gone up, the NPL in banks has gone up. Now, which is that one
Arnab,
index
you can't allow
by
that.
which you
That's
can
a
say
joke.
the economy is improving?
The current account deficit is around 2.5%.
These people, they claim academic
Now,
degrees
viewers,
and it
you're
turns out to be
watching,
fake.
you're watching
so
the most
maybe this
blatant,
fake economic
flagrant lie from
academic
the BJP
degrees is
spokesperson
causing the
today on
problem.
the panel. You're fudging and you're bluffing. You're not just a blabbering man, you're a bluff master. You're inspired by Mr. Modi. How can you say that?
Don't be a copycat. Use some other word.
This is a sham. This is an ultimate sham.
All your academic degrees are bogus.
This man doesn't know a bit of the economic statistics of today. You got a man who lies on one end and an armchair on the other. I think it's time you got Prasenjit into the discussion.
Now you see the Congress policy linking to
GDP is going up. India has been rated as the most attractive investment destination.
I will ask you only one question, Sanjay.
India is looking good.
Sanjay, 1 point.
Peaking at 22,000 will rise even more.
1 point. I don't know why 22,000, by the way. I don't. Markets don't have a logic. Markets maybe anticipating a change. I don't know. God knows what the markets react for. Markets are not the indicator of the economy.
Arnab Goswami, let me remind you.
No.
Arnab Goswami,
the market has gone up only because of participatory notes. They are all relaundering of money.
2007.
The last word,
when there were no elections,
the last word goes here.
rational factors, but they largely respond to fundamentals.
Look, I'm just going to get Prasenjit and Professor Vaidyanathan an opportunity. You know, Prasenjit, at the end of the day, even you...
Arnab.
Okay, Professor, you go first.
Arnab, they always used to refer to this as dream team, you know, this economic team which has been collected around this UPA. But they have put the whole country into sleep. This dream team has only produced technicolor dreams, which they are peddling around. The reality is extraordinarily major crisis facing us, and all of it is domestic. And I think our good friend, whoever you have called from representing Congress,
Sanjay Jha,
you should tell him to read up something. The entire international reports suggest our crisis is our domestic crisis. It has got nothing to do with the global.
He doesn't know my name.
Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute. Gentlemen,
Professor, are you aware of the Lehman Brothers collapse?
Okay.
Professor, I don't know what you teach at IIM Bangalore, but are you aware of Lehman Brothers?
Okay,
Prasenjit.
Prasenjit, my last question. Prasenjit, do you expect a big change?
You know what happened to Goldman Sachs?
You know
what happened to Morgan Stanley? It is not a domestic issue alone. It is largely international. And I think you need to travel abroad to get some newer, fresh...
Fine, okay, Prasenjit is the last word. Prasenjit, on the economy, will the verdict go against the Congress and the UPA?
Yeah, I surely think that the way the economic situation has steadily deteriorated, primarily due to the misguided policies of the UPA government, the Congress will have to pay a very heavy political price for it. But I also think that the BJP's economic policies are absolutely the carbon copy of the Congress. It will have the similar consequences, and as far as corruption and crony capitalism is concerned, there is absolutely no difference between the Congress and the BJP. And the stock market rally that is happening today, I would also like to point out there should be an investigation into which are the stocks and scrips exactly whose prices are experiencing a sharp appreciation.
Gentlemen, I don't know why stock markets are changing. I don't over-rely on only the markets to tell us what's happening with the economy, but yes, it is up. Maybe it's anticipation of a change.
It's all speculation.
Who knows? Who knows? Speculation on the basis of some opinion of some people, narrow group. Let's not rely too much on that. Gentlemen, I am only very happy that the questions Chidambaram described as puerile, we've had some debate on those puerile discussions. I hope we've not had a puerile debate. Thank you very much for joining me on debate number 2 on the Newshour tonight.